Okay. I am live and in living color. Thank you, God. And thank you to all the team who have been scurrying, paying attention, cleaning up, straightening out, putting back in order, and breathing, all of you, while we deal with the realities of our physical world. Well, because there's nothing up here to tell you, my name is Reverend Margie Hyatt, and I'm one of the interim co-leaders here at our community, along with Reverend Johanna Kelly and Reverend Denise Schellink, who's still in Washington, and even Reverend Levitt Thomas, who supports us from a distance and isn't on property or in all activities, but we know he is integral to this community. And Dr. Thomas Gallagher and all of our amazing board, I lift them up in gratitude for the work that they do. Well, if we had slides, it would say over my head, "Holy cow!" Holy cow, or what now? So we've had the holy cow this morning, so we're going to step into the what now. And this is looking at how we stand in the midst of whatever life shows up as for us, individually, as our community, or even in the greater world, and how do we cope? How do we stand firm in what we prefer, what we know is true? Because as Thomas said, there might be some juicy details around this whole question, or we all feel like there might be, and we have a story around what's going on about our senior minister. And whenever we get trapped into our stories and begin to want to know those juicy details, we are leaving the territory of God. And we have entered that, I'll speak for myself, in that dark and scary zone of my own mind, which has a habit of creating information where there isn't any factual stuff. My mind may not be comfortable living in the unknown or living in the mystery, and it's a key part of life. To roll with the flow, as Cindy and Johanna have said this morning, to be aware that there is something greater happening than what might be evident or what might I be feeling as a result of what I'm going through or what's happening in my life or in this moment. But our little minds have a tendency to awfulize with every circumstance when we don't know an answer. We can imagine the worst, and we start telling a story about how, well, what if we don't hire a minister for a very long time, or what might have happened in that particular condition, or, what if our sound doesn't come back all of service? And thank God it did. Powerful prayer for all of you, that we know the movement of God aligns us with a circumstance. God is not a cosmic dispensing machine that responds to our wish, but prayer, the activity of prayer, is calling us to be in alignment with something greater than what we might see right now. Kathy Kaiser, our office manager, steward of operations, and gifted graphic designer, created a graphic for the e-newsletter, the website, for this talk, and it had somebody looking at their cell phone with this face. I added sound effects. But I saw that face multiple times, and I actually heard that sound last Sunday as Thomas made this announcement about where we are with the status of our senior minister. No contract completed, no minister coming to us right this moment, and some of us may have really wanted right this moment. I express guilt to that. We are in the experience of the desert, the unknown, living in a question when we can't see what's coming down the road. And what do we do when we're in that space? We follow the models that have come before us out of the ancient wisdom. And whenever something big happened in many Bible stories, there's an experience of 40 days and 40 nights. In biblical language, numbers have very big importance. And 4 is about success and completion. And 0 is about lots of it, lots of the experience. So Moses, of course, had a really big experience because it wasn't days and nights. It was 40 years wandering in the desert. Jesus had experiences of going away to himself as he began his ministry and before the conclusion of his earthly ministry, to be in prayer and meditation, and at the start it was 40 days and 40 nights. Noah had 40 days and 40 nights of rain. Elijah, the prophet, went to the mountain and survived on the food he'd eaten before that experience to prepare himself to be the messenger of God that he was called to be. 40 days signals something big is happening, folks. This is an important circumstance. We are called to pay attention. The experience is often containing a period of prayer and fasting mentioned in the Bible. Prayer to be in alignment with a greater truth, fasting to let go of anything that doesn't align with that truth. So we might be in our period of 40 days and 40 nights. We are certainly called to be in an awareness of aligning with the truth of God, not the stories and the juicy details that we might make up in our own mind or we might be tempted to share in conversation with our friends. We are called to be in a period of fasting, of letting go of that which does not serve the greater truth, that which is not of God, that which isn't accurate, that which isn't true. November, in our spiritual system in unity of the 12 powers, the 12 powers is a system that guides us in developing our Christ nature. And Mr. Charles Fillmore, our co-founder, identified qualities of the Christ mind that support us becoming more Christ-like in our experience in this human life. This month, the power is release, or previously it's been referred to as elimination, or if you like an old-fashioned Christian term, renunciation. But it's about letting go. The power of release is letting go of our negative thinking, our negative stories, anything not serving our highest good, anything not absolutely aligned with the truth of God. So the previous stuff, that's the thing that makes us go, holy cow. And when we come to that space of recognizing that we want to be in the space of alignment with God, we might ask, and what now? What now is this standing in a truth that puts to rest all of our mental play, all of our agitation, all of our worry, concern, awfulizing, our gossip, our need to know, and invites us to rest in the truth that there is an energy in charge here that will lead us in divine order. Now, I couldn't have asked for a more perfect daily word today. It's just sometimes astounding how that works out. Because I didn't look it up to see what was coming for today. I wanted to respond to the situation right here and now in our community and the situation in me. And I dare say perhaps in some of you that we feel this need to know what's coming next. And we might have responded with a last week ourselves or whenever we heard this news. And what we are called to do is to realize there's a truth beyond all of this stuff we're feeling, all of what we might be drawn into in conversations that are not setting the tone for leaving space for God to make us aware of what we can do in this space of the 40 days, this space of something ripe with opportunity, spiritual inquiry, divine guidance. That's the space that we really want to be in. We want to let go of the busyness of our mind and stand in the truth of God. There's some very good advice in the letter to Philippians about how to be in that space of greater truth. I want to share with you chapter 4, verses 5 through 9. Let your reasonableness be known to everyone. Share the truth of who you are, grounded in God. Be that centered, calm presence in the midst of anxiousness. Those are my words. You know me, I metaphysicalize along with the scripture. Back to the writer. The Lord is at hand. Do not be anxious about anything, but in everything by prayer and supplication, with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God. There's nothing to be concerned about in the space of not knowing. We are called to let our preferences arising from a deep space of inner wisdom be known to that space of wisdom within and without of us, the energy of God. Be grateful that we can rest and trust that we are moving forward somehow just as it is meant to be, whether or not it's perceptible to our human mind. And the writer continues, and the peace of God, which passes all understanding, will guard your hearts and minds in Jesus Christ. And in my own everyday life and in this circumstance in our church, boy, do I want to be in the peace of God more than I want to be stewing in some story or some anxiousness. Verse 8 tells us something critical for where we are in this moment. Finally, brothers and sisters, whatever is true, whatever is honorable, whatever is just, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is commendable, if there is any excellence, if there is anything worthy of praise, think about these things. What you have learned and received and heard and seen in me, says Paul, practice these things, and the God of peace will be with you. Isn't that clear? Whatever is true, whatever is gracious and generous, whatever is compassionate, whatever is filled with the energy of love, whatever brings us to justice, whatever is righteous. The first phrase, whatever is true. Well then, all we have to decide is what's true. Have you tackled that question lately in your own life? Some challenging circumstance and myriad details creating confusion, or no details also creating confusion? It's pretty simple to remember what true is when we stand not in our human thinking and understanding, but when we stand in the greater essence of God. For if it's true in God, if it's true in universal principle, it was true then, it's true now, and it will be true, ever, always, always into the future. So if what you have as a story doesn't meet those qualifications, you might ask, what now would it serve me to know, God, in the midst of this space where my mind wants to be in its habit of asking questions and needing details rather than allowing to rest in trust, in faith, and in my biggest challenge, in patience. In patience. When we can move out of that space and into something greater that is of God, then we can allow, we can let go, we can practice release, and we can be preparing ourselves for what next, what now. We can be taking the spiritual action that prepares the field. We can plant the seeds. We can water the ground so that what grows in that space is healthy and whole and arises from those things Paul mentions, arises from what is true, what is lovely, what is just, what is commendable, especially what is true. So when your mind runs away with you in any circumstance, whether it's the issue here in our community right now or it's your own life, take a deep breath. Remember, in your desert experience, you are called to be in prayer. You are called to fast from negative thinking. You are called to be in the presence of God and to let everything else fall away. In Unity Metaphysics, we begin with some very basic tools. We have 5 principles here in Unity that every now and again a minister will give a message about those 5 principles. Very simply, they are: God is, one presence, one power. We say it every week. I am the expression of that energy of God. I am, you are, mindful co-creators with that energy. The power of our thought shapes our experience. And we connect to that energy of God through prayer and meditation. And then what's important is that final step, action, that we live from our knowing. We live from this greater truth more than we live from the limitations created in our own mind and our own understanding. We desire to grow into that greater spiritual understanding. One way to remember those principles is God is, I am, think it, pray it, be and do it. And when we activate that energy in ourselves, then we can be in that space of peace. Another little metaphysical lesson for you today arises out of the understanding of what we teach in New Thought, not just Unity, but the broader area of Christian metaphysics and mysticism. In Unity, we combine that Christian heritage with the mystical experience of the direct connection with God. We don't need an intermediary. We might benefit from a teacher, a guru, a minister, but we have the power to access the energy of God directly. We know that is truth. God is, I am. The Father and I are one. That's the teaching. That we are empowered to live in the experience of God as soon as we give that recognition. There's a formula that defines this when you study metaphysics in Unity and in New Thought. It's sometimes referred to as the Unity Trinity: mind, idea, expression. First, there is, well, we are always contending with our mind, but this refers to the mind of God. And what flows through the mind of God into our mind is the power of an idea. Coming from God, we call them divine ideas. So these would be the expanded consciousness that we sometimes experience. This would be the inspiration that sparks our mind in an instant. This would be the understanding that grows and wipes everything that was past away so that we can begin fresh. That release to start anew. And the expression is that idea come to life. And the only way God ideas escape God mind and come to life in the world is through our practice, through our activity, through our intention, through our ability to clear the field of anything not of God, plant those seeds of truth and intention, and water them with our continued awareness. Mind, idea, expression. It is how we understand the principle of creation in Unity. So we want to allow that flow in these coming weeks. We want to allow space for our Board of Trustees to engage the work that they are entrusted on our behalf. We want to allow ourselves to be in peace in these interesting times. My husband loved that quote attributed to Confucius, considered to be either a blessing or a curse. May you live in interesting times. Yeah, and that evokes the holy cow. And it's also the invitation to step into And what now? What will I do in the face of the unexpected? Hopefully, I will remember the truth of who I am. I will take a hold of, I will accept, I will activate my power as a co-creator with God and call forth a lofty intention in my life, call forth a lofty intention in this community. Pray it. I will steep myself in that energy of God. I will stand in the field of God's transformative power. And I will not accept fear or judgment or criticism to lessen my understanding of who I am and what can take place in my life. And then based on the guidance that I come to, the inner wisdom that suggests a direction and an action, then I will indeed take the steps that I am called to do. I will act knowing that my heart calls me to engage in the highest and best in my own life, for those I serve, for our community, and that whatever I engage in, and when I say I, I'm scooping up all of you with me. So speak this in your own mind with that voice. I know that what I do, what I choose to be, what I express as the energy of God ripples outward in ways I may not even ever come to see the result. But I can stand in the trust that when I am in the energy of God, then only good can be the result. Sometimes we have to wait a long time for the result to be known. So we just invite ourselves into holding what is true. Not the truth I can make up in here, but the truth that is of God, which we will find here in our heart. Live theater, nothing like it, folks. Other than reading the scripture, whatever was on my notes got discarded today. And the power surge and circuits blown, sort of, maybe you're having that experience too. This is the practice of release, letting go of something that we may have held dear and we don't know yet what's coming. I like to say that God and I have an 11th hour relationship. Perhaps you've heard it said that if it weren't for the 11th hour, nothing would take place. God likes to demonstrate through me the practice of all is well and well is indeed, no matter what's going on. So sometimes there's just a low level of chaos, my husband would say, the physicist. Low level of chaos going on in all areas of my life. My roommate is cat sitting for a friend over on the other side of the island. And so we share a very small apartment. And we both have held on to remnants of the life we used to have. And so while she doesn't have to be encumbered by my process, I've decided this is the moment to shed everything that I do not need to take forward in my life. In my meditation, I'm practicing rooting out the stuff that still can be troubling. The Q process, quantum living process training, if you have stuff you want to let go of in your life, this is one toolkit by which you can accomplish that and clear your consciousness for a greater truth, a greater presence of God alive and active so that you can be and do all that you are called to be and do. Consider that, if that's where your heart rests this morning. But I am working with the physicality of letting go, and my process has always been in the effort to organize an explosion happens first. Literal chaos. So I drag everything out so that I can sort it by categories, reorganize it, and get rid of stuff along the way. So it's a good thing my flatmate is gone for a couple of weeks, because nobody else needs to be subjected to that, let me tell you. We all have to find whatever our system is of living in the process of divine order. Not ignoring it, but allowing it to percolate in us in a way that we can reach resonance with some deeper truth. Thank you for that bell from God. That was an important thing for somebody, apparently. So wherever we are in the process of release, stand in truth. Speak about what is commendable, lovely, just, compassionate. So if you'd have questions like, well, what is our board of trustees up to? I invite you to let that go and stand in a truth that they have the courage to be in a process guided by a greater wisdom, not by their egos. Because, boy, I want to fix. When something seems wrong, I have a tendency to want to fix. And it has taken me a long time in my life to recognize that sometimes the best thing I can do is don't just do something, but stand there. Stand there and wait for wisdom to come. Stand there in the presence of truth and faith and deeper knowing. Stand there and give witness to that for others, that they can be called into the same experience. Holy cow. Or what now? We get to choose, as with everything in life, we choose whether we are in release or we have a tight grip on something in our life. But we can release and be in wholeness. We can release and choose to be in alignment with the harmony of God in our life circumstance. We can choose to say, God, what would you have me know in this space? So as we rest in some greater truth, knowing we'll have holy cow moments, but we can invite ourselves into the space beyond the fear, the space beyond the judgment. And we can rest there. Take a deep breath with me and listen to these words. See if they center in you, land in you to allow you to find that space of wholeness, that space of release, and the space to listen for an infinite wisdom that will arise within you. I freely and fully forgive. I let loose and let go. I let go and let God's love do its perfect work in me, as me, through me, for my family, my community, and for my world. I let God show me in consciousness, in my awareness, in my subconscious, in my deeper mind, and in the superconscious where I access the mind of God, that there is perfect order and it manifests in my mind, my body, and all of my affairs. I give thanks. I give thanks that peace, health, abundance, happiness, harmony, and truth now reign supreme in me and in my world. Whatever is true, whatever is lovely, whatever is commendable, whatever is just. Allow your mind to open to the energy of God as we rest a few moments in the silence.